Just wanted to point out the information we provide today is of a general advice. If you do want some more information, please seek some professional advice.
So welcome to another episode of Retirement Living Your Way, where we have real conversations with Troy Theobald and team from RFS Advice. My name's Greg Black, and Troy, it is a pleasure to have you here in the studio for CRB. How are you?
I'm very well today, very well. I don't know about a pleasure yet. We haven't started, so I'm not sure.
No, that's true. That's true. Well, look, today we're actually joined with or by Darko Zigic, who is a fellow director of RFS, has been with the business for 13 and a half years. So welcome, Darko.
Well, thank you once again. Yes, it's almost been close to 14 years.
Lucky man.
Wow.
Lucky man. When I first started with Troy, I had hair. Now not
That's
so
a long.
much.
That's a long time ago, but that's
I
okay.
know. I still look at those photos going, look, he was happy.
No, fantastic. Well, look, Troy and I, we've been keen to get you onto this program for quite some time. And we thought it was really important to bring you in, obviously a key partner in the business, but also I guess the area that you specialise in is a little bit different to a degree, and I think a lot of people that would be familiar with RFS Advice would know us as dealing with retirees, the aged care space that Belinda obviously looks after, but we actually do have a depth of experience a lot broader than that, and I guess one of those areas around professionals, small business owners and the like. So before we jump into it, how about you give our listeners a bit of background on yourself? Because we've known each other for
a very long
15
time.
to 20 years, so it's been
Easily.
a long time. So I'll correct anything that you say that may not be right, but if you just give us a bit of your background.
No, that's understandable. So I guess I was very fortunate. I was able to work at ANZ Financial Planning, where I started off my financial planning career. From there, I was poached by Westpac Commercial Banking, which was fantastic as it gave me a great depth of experience dealing with business clients and understanding structures and so forth. From there, I was then went back to the dark side, I guess, back into financial planning and worked for a life insurance company, worked my way up to a estate manager role. It got to a stage where I really didn't enjoy corporate anymore. Corporate had its wonderful benefits, but it just wasn't me. So back then it was 2012, and once again, I've known Troy for previously 2007 on memory back then, and we caught up again, had a chat, and once again very happy to be with RFS, now a director and an owner of the company, and very happy to see where it's gone to. But you're absolutely right. We definitely are known for retirement, but we also do definitely deal with a lot of professionals. And, of course, business clients looking at pre-retirement planning as well. Mm-hmm. People are there that are looking at what can they do differently.
Yeah. So if we have a look at the professional landscape and the small business owners, what sort of characteristics do you sort of see that are quite common? Because, there's all different types of people out there. But obviously when you're thinking professionals, you're thinking people that are time poor, they've got a lot going on in their world, high income earners, those sorts of things. And then you look at the business owners where it's a little bit different. So
correct.
do you mind just sort of sharing with us thoughts around, I guess, some of those common characteristics with professionals? And Troy, please jump in as well. I know you will, because you also, to be fair, you also do a lot in that space as well.
Yes.
So it'd be good to get your thoughts.
So you're absolutely right. There is definitely similar aspects of both a high school professional as well as a business client. Typically, they're very much time poor. They're too busy usually managing their own world based on their career or family, or trying to look after what they need to do next to continue going forth. So having the ability to work with them is the understanding of how do we actually help them not only take the financial pressure out of their lives, but also assist them with making sure they're on track. That's definitely the big key aspect of them. So what we see is most of these people do want sharp, short responses and be able to be there when they need us to be there the most, and ensuring that we do have their back going forward. So those are the typical common aspects of them going through. Would you say anything else, Troy?
Yeah, and it's developing the team behind that. So when Darko joined, we were probably more generalists, and both looking after all those areas. Darko did win Risk Advisor of the Year, which failed to mention there on that.
I may have had that in my notes.
Oh, there you go.
I may not have.
And about that same night, I won the Investment Advisor of the Year, and after many beverages, we thought, you know what, maybe you should look after the business clients in that area, and I tend to look after the retirees as they're either just pre-retirement into retirement phase, but it was really that when should people join RFS on the journey, and that was the hard part to articulate. So it was really getting those systems, procedures in place now that it's those financial professionals that they've got the house, kids are probably at private school, They're paying for those different costs out there, but they've got some excess. Where do they need to get to? And that really, how do we build a program around that? And then the business clients, similarly, they're so busy running their business and insulated that that's my retirement, that's my everything, but what if you don't sell it for a big digit? And that's where really Darko and I sat down and worked out, well, how do we develop a program? And now he's got a team that really specialise in that area and help those clients come through because they're having those conversations all the time.
Definitely.
So when do you find that professionals and small business or business owners tend to engage with us?
Great question. So typically there comes to a stage where cash flow feels a little bit better coming through. They're usually 10 to 15 years out of retirement. Kids are usually older by that stage. I've got two young ones, an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old, so I've got plenty of time going through. But typically there's a turning point when they start thinking of what would my life look like when I want to retire? That's a big question that they ask themselves. And then they typically come and see me. So during that period of time works out well because then we have time to be able to assist them. If they aren't on track, we can put them back on track and then work out what do we need to do to help them create that wealth for when they do go into retirement going through. But typically around that 10 to 15 years.
10 to 15 years. And what about, like, a lot of these people are dealing with other professionals?
Yes, correct.
So there's obviously accountants, lawyers and the like. Do you tend to find that you work closely with those professionals?
Absolutely correct. So when we look at especially those type of clients going through, what we tend to see is they are extremely time poor. So for them, dealing with their other professionals, especially accountants and solicitors, assist with that overall ability to make sure that everything's taken care of. An example would be to make sure that if we do provide a recommendation of creating wealth, is it in line with their tax planning? But also, will that continue from an estate planning point of view? So we do want to make sure everything's consistent with all those different other professionals to ensure we're looking after that person's best interest.
Yeah, okay. And what about, there are different types of professionals, and when we talk about time,
Yes.
obviously as a business we look after a number of medical professionals, and they're probably one of the hardest, aren't they? From the time
That's
perspective?
a surgeon in last week. I know, very short, sharp.
That's right.
You're going to have a half hour to get everything they need to know, and when do I need to see you again? You give them the date. They'll turn up for that, but
Yes.
you need to have everything ready to go to sort for them because they are so hyper scheduled in their world. And it's having everything lined up. What do you need to know? Where you're at? Where you're going to get to? Try to get those, those questions out of them where they'd really like to get to, and also not going. It's all about the future. It's all about way down the track. No, it's a journey. So
Correct.
you got to enjoy today. Enjoy the time with the kids. Have good holidays and put a bit away. Somewhere along the way is the key. Business clients, it's slowing them from just reinvesting again and again and again.
Which tends to be the...
Oh, it doesn't. You have people come in and, they're sort of, I'm 5 or 10 years out, we're going to launch this whole new location, new everything, and you think, wow, I know the capital payback on that's probably 7 to 8 years, and that's most of the time that you want to continue working. And then you've told me you want to get ready to sell and retire. Well, that was probably a 5-year plan, and all of a sudden it sort of, the shiny new location and toy, did we need to do that, or could we have just built on what we already had?
So really the whole education piece has got to be critical, because a lot of people, their whole world revolves around what they know, and if it's their own business, they've invested, as you said, Troy, they've invested everything into that. Absolutely. So actually, I guess, explaining the importance of diversification, having a look at the bigger picture. Would that be fair?
But absolutely correct. So what we tend to do is also work with a lot of engineers going through, and Troy and I really enjoy that because we love our spreadsheets. We're data nerds. So in that aspect, we go through all the different discussion points, especially working out how do we assist with making a philosophy in place so we can ensure that they're following to help them get to that next stage. But we still want them to enjoy life. We still want them to go out on all these wonderful holidays, to enjoy life in all aspects, but make sure that we still have a plan in place going through.
So what are some of the common characteristics of that plan? So what are some of the areas that you touch on when someone comes in to see you?
Great question. So if we have a look at, say, business clients, we tend to have a look at what stage of the business cycle they're in coming through. From there, we talk about their profit line. That's definitely an area that we do want to focus on, their P&Ls, to work out how much are they actually taking from the business, what they need to fund the household, and can we use some of that profit to create some assets? What we technically say is creating off-farm assets going through.
Right.
By doing that, we're diversifying from the main entity and creating assets in a way to assist with them with their making work optional timeframe going through.
Yes. So that whole just touching on that making work optional, because that's something that I've obviously seen in the business for many years. Do you want to give us a bit of the background on that? Because it's interesting.
Some clients want to retire and some don't. So from our perspective, we sort of soften that by making work optional, and particularly business clients, it's their own business, it's their baby, it's been running through there. They're probably not sitting there going, woohoo, I can't wait to retire. They probably still enjoy what they're doing, they enjoy building, so they don't want to be forced into retirement or feel like that's pushed upon them. So for them, we call it work as optional, meaning let's just get you in a position, no matter what happens, you're going to be okay. And particularly for the business clients, it works well, because otherwise they'll just pump everything back into the business, grow, hope we get that check at the end. Invariably, they think it's worth $6 million. The accountant goes, it's probably worth $4 million, and they get an offer of $3 million. That's a big difference to your retirement when there's that much difference. If we've already tucked, $1, $2, $3 million away a little bit every year, compounded away, that end outcome isn't quite as pivotable to the rest of your life. But that's, where Darko and I work with the accountants there is in regards to that, and just having those real conversation around what the business is really worth, because,
they're not necessarily easy conversations too, are they?
Definitely not. No. Definitely not. Because unfortunately, you've got an independent looking into the business going, are you sure it's really worth this? Have you had an honest conversation with the accountant? Oh, no, maybe, yes, no.
Yes.
What's the actual number? Would someone else buy your business? Or what are they buying?
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's also, you see how they exit, like RFS, where we call ourselves a legacy business, with obviously 3 of us being shareholders. We've got shareholders in their 40s and their 30s. In the 20s.
Absolutely.
In the business.
And that's clearly none of us.
No, it's none of us here. But it's for that longevity coming through, where a lot of these people are building to a sale, and there's all this, I'm going to have a corporate, I'm going to have a listing and the corporate buyout. And we just watch that in our industry constantly not work over and over again.
Yeah.
And the people hating the back end of their career, they're locked into things that they don't want to do. It's also around that enjoying the ride. So a lot of that strategy and advice work that Darko's team do is more around that. It's not just about their super and this sort of stuff. It is, broader.
Which a lot of people would be thinking it's about that, but it's actually having broader conversations.
Yeah,
correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What about professionals? Because obviously they tend to be high income earners.
Yes.
As a result, they tend to have higher expectations around lifestyle, and everyone wants to sell them debt.
Yes, unfortunately.
How do those sort of conversations go? Because you are juggling a little bit of planning for the future while living in the now, and living in the now within the means that they want to be living in.
No, absolutely correct. I hate using the B word, being the budget word, but we do need to understand their overall cash flow. It is extremely important. And then actually showing them that if they continue on their current path, unfortunately, from a loan point of view, they may not pay off the loan until they retire, or if they're lucky, they'll repay it just before they retire. Versus, can we use some of that additional cash flow to help them pay off debt?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? Well, that means you'll be able to make work optional sooner, and also be able to still enjoy the wonderful things that they want to do going through. So it's actually giving the understanding of, yes, you're making great income, rather than spending, wasting.
Yes.
What if we can use a portion of that funds to clear the debts, create some additional wealth going through? And you're absolutely right. It's not just about super. It's about what can we do to create wealth for the now, but also how will that help them when they do want to go for retirement and so forth. And that could be looking at super at that stage.
No. And so if someone comes in, if someone's listening now and they're thinking, look, I haven't sat down with a professional like yourself, what's sort of the process? Because obviously we've spoken about how they're time poor.
Yes.
How do you engage with them, and what sort of process do you walk them through to get to them that point? Because once they're at that point,
yes,
it's not set and forget, because obviously we're reviewing and we're managing and so forth. But effectively, the strategy's set. They've just got to go through the process. So what's the initial start part?
So the initial start is basically, say, a 45-minute catch-up where we meet and have a general discussion just like this. The reason being is we want to know what they're trying to achieve. Are they on track? Is there gaps in their overall plans? How can we assist them going through? Fortunately, with technology these days, everything that we need is on your phone. So typically you can log into your systems or your structures to work out what the current available account value is and so forth, and that just helps us when we look at data-wise going through. So initially, the first meeting's pretty much a 45-minute catch-up where we just have a chat to make sure that they're comfortable with what we're looking at helping them with, and finding out what do they need. Can we help them with those different areas going through? From there, it's then the touch points of ensuring that they're still on track. So you're absolutely right. We do want to catch up and have a chat. In those meetings, we want to go through what's worked, what hasn't worked, what do we need to do for the future. In this case, we're still looking at that short, medium, long-term view, but actually making it more real-world coming through.
So very much exactly the same as the overall plan and process that you would be using.
Yeah, it's different for that than that pre-retiree, because we might have more property investment here, we might have commercial property, because they've got time frame to pay it off and it's got time to grow, whereas the issue we see a lot of people 5 years out from retirement going to buy property with a truckload of debt, it's not paying off, it's not going to pay it down, and the income's low. It's like, okay, that was a great long-term investment. We're not anti-property at all, and can work well for the high income earners, but we might need one, maybe two. We don't need 10.
Correct.
And this is what Darko and I see walk in the door, and that's why I can't handle the amount of debt. That's why he deals with them now, because I'm just like, why on earth would you... Where's the exit strategy? We don't have one.
Yes.
Oh, the accountant said I'll get a deduction. Great, but how do we pay it back? What's the end game? Do we have a plan? Or, it's the constant lease cars. They're turning over the toys. I need a deduction, so I just bought, it's outside, looks fantastic. And the other one, 12, 18 months old. Oh, yeah, but accountant told me I needed it. No. Not sure on that. That's, to Darko's point, it's that long-term amount saving, compounding that's not sexy, but it just over time grows and grows and grows. And if they're starting in that mid-40s with good cash flow, it's much easier than walking in the door in mid-50s with cash flow and bad habits.
Correct. Absolutely correct.
I tell you what, I was just thinking about, I see the number of clients that come into the office and a number of the accounts that come in with the clients, just the robust conversations that must be had in some of those meetings.
Well, it is. I mean,
because it's constructive for the client.
Well, it is. And we deal with a number of firms around town, but there's certainly those that we deal more with the ones that are more aligned with our thinking, which isn't load them up with debt and give them problems. That's more to Darko's point, that short, medium, long-term solution, and having some strategy and some structure in place and recognising, they're going to pay some tax along the way. It's not tax and everything else. Those clients that walk in the door with that attitude tend to not have a great nest egg or amount behind them, because they're making a decision, with one eye open and the other closed. So you really want to have that total view of where we want to get to. Nobody wants to pay, don't we always call the tax man, we should say tax man, lady, or whatever.
Tax person?
Yeah.
Person. Like that.
None of us want to pay him any more than we need to. I don't. Not as anyone else.
Not.
But it's a recognise that's how the world works, that's how the system works, so we've got to pay our share and structure things accordingly for the future, and it's just doing that in a smart way without that being the primary driver.
Correct.
No, very true. Now, as far as we spoke about when we tend to find business owners and professionals are coming in to see us, the trigger events from their end.
Yes.
In your mind, when should professionals reach out? And maybe if you could answer that, and then maybe touch on business owners. What sort of position do you think, if they're in and someone's listening to this and they're in, what you're about to explain, they go, actually, now's the time I should be?
Yes, great question. The reason being is professionals realistically will want to work for as long as they can. That's a big fundamental difference. They're very happy doing what they're doing and they want to continue on that path. The difference is understanding when do they want to make work optional. That's a different timing point. The earlier that we are able to see a person, the better the results will be. So as much as we'd like them to come in and see us for 10 to 15 years, but it also depends on where they are with their overall plans and, once again, their careers going forward. There might be in a situation where their kids are basically all grown up, they're receiving some good solid cash flow, there's no more private school fees. Yes. Okay, now it's
that in itself can be a trigger.
Absolutely.
You've got a little bit more excess cash.
Correct. Yeah. Business owners are different. The reason being is, once again, exactly to Troy's point, the business might be getting more and more profitable, which is fantastic, but then they're considering, do I need to buy commercial property? Do I need to spend more money on a different location? That's when we should be meeting with them. The reason being is that's when we can actually sit down with them and say, why are we doing this? Well, based on your overall plans and the income that you need to live on, you don't need to take on that risk. Yeah. Why do you want to go into millions of dollars worth of debt buying commercial property that won't give you the rental return that you're looking for? Mm-hmm. Just because, well, that's not a response.
Yes.
We need to make sure that we understand why they're doing this and helping them going through.
Yep. No, that's fantastic. Now, look, I think, as you can see, I think the conversation that we've had today is one that I think was important for us to have, because it is, although we're in financial planning, there are different pockets that work, that we do work with. And I think, having you along today has certainly uncovered a lot of those sort of issues that those individuals are facing or people. Anything from your end, Troy, before we sort of wrap up?
Yeah, it's probably more around Darko's point there of that it is two different scenarios, that it can be more age-based as the kids come through. I know haven't got much school fees left, thankfully, but I do notice the conversation, with the other dads. I'm still president of the dads club of the school, so
you're going to miss
dads.
You're going to miss
will
that.
miss that.
He will, won't he?
He will.
Tick counter down. But from that perspective, the conversation's changed. And now it used to be the cars and the toys when the kids were in junior school. And, look at my leased car out there. And now it's all people are talking about their super and what have they tucked away and that sort of process. Whereas the business clients, it's more the business could ramp up really quickly and people need help.
Yes.
From that perspective, or those decisions, am I going to take another location? Someone's running a really good cafe, and we can give a great example. We're all sitting here going, because our favourite little cafe, we go on the Friday, and Greg's heard me tell a story that people are going to buy a cafe, and what do? I'm going to go in and I'm going to change all the decor, then I'm going to change the menu, and then I'm going to change the coffee beans, because it's all about what I want to put in. Now you've experienced
I've experienced firsthand.
Yes. Our coffee shop, we go to on the Friday, they've changed the menu, they've changed the meal everyone used to get around town, and no, it's not available after 12 now because we don't want to serve that. And they changed the coffee beans. And
I was hoping you were going to be wrong, and we sat there and we ordered the coffee, and we all sort of looked at each other about 10 seconds into it and went, it's different beans, isn't it? It's not good.
And it's exactly, I've said it umpteen times on the radio last time. You just watch people do things that they buy a business, and they would have paid for this business and paid for goodwill, and this is a good example of a business client. Would have gone to their accountant, I want to buy a cafe, and they've gone in and paid the multiple. They've got these loyal customers, great. And then they go in and then they change everything that people were going there for, because it's all about them, not about the customer. And then the business struggles, and then Darko, they'll be coming down, my cash flow's down, the business hasn't turned out what I thought was that. They're the sort of... when you've been doing it for a while, you can have those conversations in advance, hopefully.
Yes.
And they're the intricacies where you've been doing it and specialising in it. And Darko having the business clients in, it's you see those.
You've seen so many. You've seen the patterns. You've seen the mistakes people have made. And
okay, what have you done? Okay, this is what you've done. How can I fix it? Oh, this is going to be a fun conversation.
No, exactly. Well, look, in the interest of time, I think we might finish it up there if that's okay with you. But look, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Always a pleasure, mate. You're always the happy one in the office. We're all happy, but Darko's extra happy, which is fantastic. And look, I think we'll definitely get you on again, because I know there's so much knowledge in that head of yours, and I see all the clients when they leave and how relieved and happy they are. So appreciate you touching on that. So and Troy, until next time.
Until next time,
keep
Greg.
well.
I shall.
Thank you. Take care.